Hey guys, this is Arnold, the One Hungry Hungarian. Today we're going to be talking about this really interesting recipe from back in Hungary where I grew up. It's a fermented version of dill pickles, so there's no pickling involved. It's just a simple fermentation process, and that process has a little bit of a twist. So come join me and I'll share this wonderful recipe with you. Hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so we begin with I bought 5 little bags of these mini cucumbers from our local market here. It ends up probably being close to 4, maybe 5 pounds of cucumbers. It was enough to make 4 1-liter jars of this pickle. So this pickle is traditionally made in the summertime because you can keep it at a fairly warm temperature. I do have a controlled temperature environment here in my house. I've set up an old fridge and with a use of a thermostat and pretty much a massage pad heater, I've turned it into sort of a temperature controlled environment where I can increase or decrease the temperature as I like to see it fit. So for making these, I'll probably up the temperature to about 23 or 24 degrees Celsius, which is very ideal for these type of fermentations. These are very delicious pickles. Usually we use pickling cucumbers, but these are just those little mini cucumbers you can buy at your local store. So what you can see I'm doing with them is I am trimming the ends off of it, and then I'll make a vertical incision about 3/4 of the way down and all the way across. You could also just poke a hole in the middle of the cucumber and just create an opening that allows the juices to penetrate the meat of the cucumber. The next step is to create our water brine, and the formula I tend to use with water is 3% salt to water. The salt I usually use is a good quality sea salt or kosher salt, and the water is usually filtered water. Depends on where you live. Some of your city water may be full of chlorine, and chlorine will actually kill most of the lactobacilli bacteria that you're actually hoping to cultivate from all this. So it's important to use filtered water. It's where I live, it's not that bad. I can use tap water. I just happen to use the filtered water in this case. And as you can see, I'm using a digital scale to make sure that the measurements are exact. So I'll be adding about 2 liters or 2,000 grams of water, and I'll be adding 3% salt. So if you help me do the math here, that should be about 60 grams worth of salt. That'll give you about a 3% solution. And then you have to whisk everything together very well so that the water and the salt is completely dissolved in that water. The temperature of the water, I do it room temperature. I don't do warm or cold. Room temperature seems to work well. And next we'll be adding the garlic, and I like to go fairly generous with the garlic, maybe 7 to 8 cloves, so maybe 2 cloves of garlic in each jar. I could put more. I'm only putting 2 in this one. I do usually like a lot of garlic in my pickles and sauces and stuff. And make sure you also disinfect your jars. I use a combination of about 1 part Star San sanitizer and 10 parts water. And it's a no dry sanitizer. You just spray everything with it, and you can start packing things in right away, including any lids that you may be using. This recipe doesn't call for lids. I'll just use a couple of plates at the end to cover everything. So as you can see, I'm beginning with the dills and the garlic to go into the bottom of the jar, and then I'll be kind of holding my jar sideways to allow me to put the cucumbers all the way down. and stack them in a fairly neatly here. And you want to pack them pretty tight. You don't want to leave too much space in between them. Any space that you will leave, water will hopefully fill all of it up. You have to be careful with air bubbles, because air bubbles can harvest the bacteria that you don't want to harvest. So when you pack things tight and you add water and kind of give it a couple of taps at the end, you'll see what I'm doing. And that'll give you the kind of water seal that the fermentation needs in order for it to take place safely. I've also prepared the sourdough bread. A couple of slices. I ended up only using, I believe, 2 slices in each, or even just one, as I recall. So the first bottle is done. And the next step is to transfer the brine, the 3% salt brine, into the bottle. And you want to wait a little bit with it, allow all the air bubbles to come up to the surface, and that oftentimes will mean you'll have to add some more water to it at the end. So I like to fill it up just to the bottom of where the lid would normally go on, that section of the glass. That little cucumber there kind of escaped, so you have to kind of squish it back in to give it a nice tight position. And this time I'm using just a slice of bread and the end piece, and there you go, it's good to go. And pretty much you want to repeat these until you get all your jars filled. The last step will be to pretty much put them on a plate of some sort. So what will eventually happen is, because these jars are pretty full, they'll end up leaking a little bit of water onto the side of the bottle. So in order to avoid having to have a mess to clean up wherever you end up storing these, in a windowsill or whatever, you'll see that there's going to be some water coming out of the jar. So this little plate there just helps to capture all that. So I'm going to just seal, but not tightly, but I'm just going to put these plates on kind of loose, so that they'll sit there, and I'm going to keep these in a fairly consistent 23 to 24 degrees Celsius area for anywhere from 3 to 4 days to allow it to ferment. I will get back to you once the fermentation is complete, and I'll let you know how everything has turned out.
Okay guys, so it's been 4 days for this fermented dills. I'm really excited to try them. As you can see that the color of it's a little bit murky whitey, which is perfectly normal. It's part of the fermentation process. They look really nice and crunchy. So I'm going to start by removing the sourdough, which we no longer need. So take all your little sourdough pieces here that come out of the the jar here. It's kind of broken in half. I usually like to use the end pieces just for this reason, so they don't fall apart on me after 4 days, but that's fine. And in a moment here, I'm going to try a bite of one to see how the whole thing turned out to be. So here we go. Here, let's get this out. Okay. Oh, that one's breaking up on me again. It's okay. So I'm not gonna use, eat the sourdough right now. It was just used for the fact that it had certain levels of yeast in it. So I'm just gonna take a bite of one of them here. So let's see. I'm really excited. It smells amazing. I'm sure you can hear the crunch. This is absolutely delicious. Yeah, I love this stuff. I'm sure you guys will too. It's crunchy on the outside. It's a little bit softer in the middle. It has a wonderful little acidic flavor that was brought in by the yeast. And you can definitely taste the garlic and the dills. And at this point, all I have to do is put some plastic lids on this and put them in the fridge, and they'll be good for quite a long time, which I doubt that they will last a long time. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys joining me today. If you did like this video, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment, or all three. Any questions you have about this recipe or anything else, please leave a comment. I'd be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. And join me again. I'll have some interesting ideas for recipes coming up. The next one is going to be, without giving too much away, it's going to have a little bit of a Caribbean flair to it. So here we go. Thank you once again for joining me, and I'll see you again real soon.